There are so many types of charts. Which one do I choose? Let's talk about that in this video. What's a chart for now? Remind me again. It's a visual representation of numbers or data. Some people like to look at numbers. Some people hate to look at numbers, but to see a picture makes sense to them. It's easier to see patterns if you look at numbers, at the graph charts. Oh, by the way, you might call them graphs. Microsoft calls them charts, whatever. But it is easier to see patterns that way. Lots of people will look at the chart first to get the overall picture and then go back and look at the numbers to see the details. It's really important to include both most of the time. There's some leeway in which chart type to use, although there are some guidelines that are better to follow. Two ideas are how many items are you comparing and how much space do you have available for displaying it, because if you make some of them too small, you lose the details. The first type is called a clustered column chart. People call it a column chart or regular chart. It's regular. This uses, and I copied, this is from Office Online. I copied their description. You use this when the order of the categories isn't as important, when you're displaying counts of things. It's a very broad, usable kind of chart for many kinds of items. If you are showing the insides rather than the totals, you'll probably use this type. If you don't know which kind of chart to use, this is your first best guess. The second kind of chart is called a bar chart. If this is a column chart, this is a bar chart. Same thing, different direction. This is less common than the other one because those you can put in a smaller space and these might need a bigger space. The two best times to use one is when the values represent durations. In other words, for how many years, and you have 20 years worth, and if you try to put 20 years on a column chart, it's going to be a pretty big line. The second is when the category text is very long. So example, people's names, and I actually put an example in here. You'll see it in a second. A third kind of chart that you could use is a pie chart, and it says when the values could be added together. I'm going to say when all of them have to add up to 100%, then you should use a pie chart. How much of it was for that? How much of it was for this? So that's when you would use a pie chart. And if you look at this pie chart, that person would probably, that's not, they'd be getting points off because the chart isn't wrong, but they didn't display it well. If you have one piece of the pie chart is exactly one half, then you put the totals in there. You don't put the totals. You put either in the sides or the totals. You don't put both. So if you see this half is one and then the others, then probably you need to go just delete it and start over. Go back and take the totals out and just use the insides. And they say you use it when there's one data series, one kind of thing, and all of the numbers are positive. Because you could have negative, like if somebody's in the hole financially, you could have negative numbers, but you can't put negative numbers on a pie chart. So anyway, all the values have to be positive. A fourth kind that you might use sometimes is called a line chart, and it shows trends over time or trends of money or trends of something over a series of somethings. Also, if you have too many data points, in other words, if you're going to have 150 students' names across the bottom, it's going to be too hard to have 150 names because you have to write them all out. But you could put 150 little dots to show values and still have it come out right. Okay, so that's one reason. And the other one is if the order is important that they show up in, and I won't bother with that for now, but the many data points or the trend. Beginner's tip number one, y'all are beginners. So choose from the first category here of whichever chart you choose. Don't take these. They have more specific meanings. Maybe not the line chart, but the others do. So take from the first column. And then I said, you can edit a chart after you create it. You can. Take my Excel class. However, for now, delete it and start over. And even I do that most of the time. Oh, it didn't come out right. Forget it. Scrap it. Start over. So now we here have a comparative example, and I have to tell you a story. I had to stop the video and go back and fix my spreadsheets because I had like one girl sold twice as many cookies as everybody else, and so the pie chart looked like that half thing that I was telling you had to. So one nice thing about, all I had to do was go change one number in the spreadsheet, and all three of the charts got updated immediately. Then just copy them, paste them over here into PowerPoint. There's actually a way that I could have, it's called linking and embedding. I could have linked these charts to the PowerPoint. So when I to the spreadsheet. So when I updated the spreadsheet, it would update the PowerPoint. However, I was using the online version of the spreadsheet, which means that it can't link back to my desktop version of the some things are so complex. So that was just for fun. So here is an example of what did I do? Put them in the wrong order? I sure did. Ah, phooey. Oh, hold on just a second. Okay, I fixed it. I'm not going to stop and start over. It's too much fun. I mean, Peter makes a mistake too. It's okay. So on the left here, we have a column chart. And if you had too many long names, you can see that it would turn into a mess. On the bar chart, however, the long name can be displayed there. Or if you had a survey, you could have the whole quiz question show in there, and it would still be possible. Down here on the pie chart, the name doesn't matter, but you can see how the percentages, I didn't put the percentages in, but you can see visually with your eye that each girl sold more or less the same amount, and whoever's the little, what is that, green, sold the most, but not by much. It was pretty equal. So you see the value of having the visual depiction of numbers as well as the spreadsheet itself. Both are valuable. Both are valuable, and they're actually fun to make once you get the system figured out.